this week I've decided that I wanted to do a video. You can probably tell by the title, reading dark romances for a week. I have never read a dark romance. That's a lie. The only dark romances I've ever read are Haunting Adeline and Lights Out by Nevessa Allen. I have been wanting to dip my toes into the genre, but I've been too scared. I don't know where to start. So I consulted the queen herself, my absolute bestie, Ellie, and she gave me this list, which I'm going to pop up on the screen, of dark romances to read for this week, and I have picked 3 that I'm going to read. And the first one is Hunting Adeline. I have read the first one of this book and I genuinely did not know how to feel. Like, I was terrified, but also Zaid, you know? Like, please don't tell me that you don't find Zaid hot, because that man, I've been really wanting to dip my toes into the genre. There's 2 people at work who read dark romances and have recommended so many to me, and I just haven't read them. I've been waiting for my family to leave the house, so I'm home alone so that I can actually film. Not that I'm embarrassed, but I don't feel like I can talk freely when my dad's in the office conjoining my bedroom about dark romances and spicy books. This is the intro to this video and also the 50% check-in for this book, because it is Wednesday. I wanted to film this on Monday, but I wasn't able to. Please, please, please read the trigger warnings for this book. The first 50% is heavily about sex trafficking and grape. I'm not sure if YouTube will allow me to say the words. It's about grape. There's a lot of blood imagery. I would just please check the trigger warnings before going into this. I was aware of the trigger warnings and some of the things still were a bit traumatizing, so please check the trigger warnings before reading this one. This is a hell of a lot darker than the first book, in my opinion. The first book is about Adeline, who is an author, and she finds out that she has a stalker, and the story is about the relationship with her and the stalker. Then at the end of the book, something happens, something quite significant happens, and the first half of this book was her in that situation for months before she was no longer in that situation. I'm really trying hard not to give any spoilers, but it was incredibly dark, incredibly traumatizing. I'm about 60% through this book right now, and it is just starting to lighten up. It isn't lightening up. She's dealing with a lot of trauma and a lot of complex PTSD issues, and it's heavy, it's dark, but the kind of love between the 2 main characters, the FMC and the MMC, is really crazy in a good way. But yeah, so that is how I'm feeling about this book so far. It is incredibly dark, incredibly heavy. I'm going to finish this one and then we will pick the next book off the list to give a read. This book is about 600 pages, so it is quite a hefty slog. However, I find that H.D. Carlton's writing is quite quick. I'm getting through it quite quickly. I have just finished Hunting Adeline, and I don't know where to start with this book. The first half is disgusting. It's really hard to get through. I would definitely recommend checking the triggers before you read it. The second half was really good. I really enjoyed the second half. It was very dark. It was very dark. The first half was very hard to get through. I don't know if I would recommend this book to anyone. I'm not sure if I agree with writing great into books. I understand that it is his job was to take down sex trafficking rings, and in the first book it was really good, really worked really well. He was like really, like, you could understand where he was coming from. But in the second book, she gets I don't know how much I can say without spoiling it, but at the end of the first book she gets kidnapped and she gets raped multiple times, and it is just a very, very horrible thing to read about. So I would definitely check the trigger warnings and like assess your stomach. If you can stomach that and it doesn't bother you, then great. I would just be very careful because it is very, very heavy, very dark. The first half of that book has kind of ruined how much that I loved the storyline, and I'm not sure it needed to be that traumatizing, whether they could have just, you know, closed doored it. But again, it opens the conversations about these things, and the conversations are really important to have. It was just a lot, I think. Moving on from Hunting Adeline, I think we are going to go with Caught Up by Nevessa Allen. This is also a second book in a series. It is, I don't know what the series is called. It's the first book's Lights Out, and I listened to that as an audiobook and I loved it. This book is the second book in the Lights Out series. I believe there's 3. This one's the one with the red cover, and I believe I've seen one with a green cover. So I think we should start Lights Out because this is definitely a more lighter, dark romance, if that's even a thing. Hello, it's been about a week since I started Caught Up by Nevessa Allen, and I am around the 70% mark, but I've just finished my 2 on, 1 off, 2 on. Yesterday was my first day off and I had the most brutal migraine known to man. So if I look a little bit rough, please excuse that because I'm not feeling my best. But I thought I would just hop on and speak about Caught Up, my 50% check-in. I am loving this book so far. It is different to the first one. I thought it was still going to be about Ali and Josh, but it is not. It's about a new couple. It's about Ali's cousin Nico and his childhood friend. It is giving childhood friends to lovers. It's giving second chance romance. It's giving enemies to lovers. It's giving mafia vibes. It does definitely talk about voyeurism, so if that's not something that you are personally into, I would probably give this one a miss because it does describe quite a lot of voyeurism. The FMC is called Lauren and she is a cam girl, a sex worker, and I love her. She is everything. And Nico is dealing with some family issues, and I'm just really enjoying this so far. It is really, really good. It's reading so quick. I am 255 pages through 337, so I'm nearly finished now. I'm really enjoying this book so far. Nevessa Allen's writing is very witty, funny, quick to read, and it's a lovely little palette cleanser post Hunting Adeline because that did traumatise me just a little bit. But yeah, I just wanted to quickly check in and share my thoughts so far about Caught Up by Nevessa Allen. I have officially finished Caught Up by Nevessa Allen and I really enjoyed this book. I have not read a mafia romance before and I really enjoyed it. I don't know if I would necessarily class it as a dark romance because I don't think anything super dark happened. This one is about Nico and Lauren, which I've said in the first book, and there were a few times where I was a little bit cringed out. There was a few like sentences where I was like, okay. But I really enjoyed this book. I thought it was really good. I liked the mafia side of it, and I liked the exploration of Nico working through his like Italian family issues, because his family is in the Italian mafia, which we find out in the first book when Ali and Josh go to get help from him and the family. And I really did like the way that it was portrayed, and I definitely felt for his mum in the situation that they were in. I don't really think a lot happened in this book. Like how intense Nico was. He was very, very intense, and that did freak Lauren out a little bit, but I really enjoyed it through. There wasn't any like massive plot points that happened, so I do think the plot was quite lackluster, but I think that the writing made up for it. I thought that it was really good the way that they portrayed the mob family and how Lauren was involved with it. I really liked Nico as a character. He's tall, muscles, motorbike, tattoos. Like, he was a really good main character, and I loved Lauren. Lauren was just a real down to earth human, and I really, really enjoyed this book. I just don't, it was just kind of, the plot didn't really do anything for me, so that's why I'm rating it a 3.75. 3-star is kind of middle of the road. 4-star, great. 5-star, 6-star, I'm thinking about it every day. So it was a 3.75 for me. I really enjoyed it, and I'm really looking forward to the third book coming out. The next book I will be reading is Little Strangers by Lee Rivers. This is one that was recommended to me by Ellie, and I am very excited to give this a go. It is not very many pages. It is 250 pages, so I will catch you when it's time to check in. I am about 50% through Little Stranger, so I wanted to do a check-in for how I'm feeling about this book so far. Right, this book so far, this is about a adopted daughter called Olivia. About a year into her adoption into this family, they adopt an older boy called Malachi. So Olivia and Malachi are very close, and Malachi doesn't speak, and he's very possessive of her. And the start of this book made me quite uncomfortable because they were both 7 and 8 years old, and nothing happens in terms of inappropriateness, but I just don't like books that talk about children at all, and it is uncomfortable as fuck. Nothing happens. They have a few like chaste kiss on the lips and stuff, but I think the intent was there, and that, nope, that was incredibly uncomfortable. I am about 70% of the way through now, and they are both over the age of consent, but that first initial bit was very, very uncomfortable. This is so incredibly dark, and I'm not sure I'm enjoying it that much. The whole premise of the book so far is them having feelings toward each other, and Olivia saying, no, we're siblings, and him saying, no, we're not. That's kind of all that happens in terms of that conversation. And this, I don't know whether this classes as a spoiler, but if you are intending to read this book, please skip ahead. But they have over their dad's dead body. He's not actually dead, and he, you know, comes back around, but he nearly kills his dad, and then they have sex over the body, and then she like calls an ambulance, calls the police, and gets him incarcerated for what he did. But she didn't show any sort of before, like she just let the sex happen and then called the police, which I just think's insane. It is insane. I'm not sure how this just, there's no logic. And I do like Malachi in terms of, I like him as a character. He is very, very intense. He's got some things going on in his head, but I can't really get over that bit where they had sex over the dad's dead body. And the first bit of the book was uncomfortable as fuck. I did not enjoy the start of the book at all. This is a very quick book. It's only like 250 pages, so I am nearly through with this book and I will be finishing it today. I don't think this is very good plot-wise. I don't think it's very good story-wise. He's just got out of the incarceration, we're talking 8 years later, and he's just kidnapped her. And he's been drugging her every night and coming into her apartment and doing things to her when she's unconscious. I feel like, where's the consent? I'm all for doing things when there's consent, but this just feels like a step too far. Maybe that's just me, who I am as a person, and I'm just not comfortable with that. But I don't know where I sit with this book so far. I have just finished Little Stranger. I'm going to rate this a 2.75. The thing that irked me the most, apart from everything that I said in the 50% check-in, is when is this set? Because quite a big plot point of this was that Olivia was getting promised to men. Her virginity was sold to someone. She was like told to marry 2 different people, like as a contract, and from what I can tell there's no like religious reasons this is happening, and it seems to be set in modern day, so I'm just a little bit confused where the marriage promising comes into all of this. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm going for a 2.75. I did not enjoy the start, like I said previously in the 50% check-in, and the end, you know, they get together. She finally realises that she is in love with him and wants to be with him forever, and the dads have just gone, yeah, I'll work on forgiving him after he nearly murdered him. The plot was shit. If I'm being completely honest, the plot was shit. Yeah, I mean, that's the end of this video. Thank you for watching. I definitely will be reading some more dark romances in the future. I'm just not sure how I feel about them at this current time. Like, Malachi was sick and I did like it, but I think the context just threw me off with it being like a sibling, but they're not siblings, not biologically related, but they were raised as siblings. And the start when they were like 8 and 7 years old, that was just a big ick for me, honestly. But thank you so much for watching this video. Let me know if there's any books you want to see me read in the future.